All right, today we're diving into a book that's, well, a total giant in the world of personal development. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We're going to break down the core ideas that have seriously changed millions of lives. And it all starts with a fundamental choice, one that every single one of us makes every single day. This quote right here, it really gets to the heart of the entire book. And it makes me think of two people I used to work with. We all started out in the same place, but where our careers ended up, well, they couldn't be more different. Their stories are the perfect illustration of what it means to be reactive versus proactive. So here's how it played out. One of my colleagues, years later, he was still in the exact same spot. And he was always blaming bad management, the company culture, you name it, for why he was stuck. The other guy, he had all the same complaints, but he saw them differently. For him, they were a signal, a reason to get better. So he worked on his skills, found a way better company, and just soared. Same exact starting point, but totally different outcomes, all because of their mindset. And that choice, to be proactive or reactive, it's the bedrock for all 7 habits. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to build our inner compass with habits 1 and 2. Then we'll get into priorities and people with habits 3 and 4. After that, we'll learn all about understanding and synergy with 5 and 6. And finally, we'll wrap up with the one habit that keeps all the others going strong. Okay, let's dive in. The first 2 habits are all about mastering yourself. Think of this as building your foundation. You've got to get your own house in order before you can really truly work effectively with other people. So habit 1 is be proactive. It's really simple. Focus your energy where it actually counts. Just like my old colleague. Proactive people get that they can't change the entire company culture overnight, but they can learn a new skill. They can look for a new job. Reactive people just burn all their energy complaining about things they have absolutely no control over. This is habit number 1 for a reason. You have to believe you're the driver of your own life before you can even think about picking a destination. And that leads perfectly into habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Now, Covey uses this incredibly powerful thought experiment here. He asks you to imagine you're at a funeral, and as you walk up to the casket, you realize it's your funeral, 3 years from today. You sit down and listen as your family, your friends, your coworkers get up to speak. What do you want to hear them say? Who do you want to be remembered as? This brings us to a really tough question. If you know how you want to be remembered, do your actions today line up with that vision? I mean, if your big goal is to be a fantastic parent, are you glued to the TV while your kid's trying to get your attention? If you want to build a business, are you spending your evenings working on it or just scrolling? It's a hard look in the mirror, but it's absolutely necessary. All right, so once you've got that inner compass dialed in, it's time to actually navigate the world. This next pair of habits takes us from what Covey calls private victory to public victory. It's all about managing your priorities and, just as important, working effectively with others. Habit 3, put first things first, is all about execution. This is where the rubber meets the road. It connects those big end-in-mind goals with what you do every single day. Covey's matrix here is brilliant. It splits everything we do into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is for fires and crises. Quadrant 3 is for annoying interruptions. Quadrant 4 is for, well, total time wasters. The real secret to an effective life? It's living in quadrant 2. It's doing the important stuff that isn't urgent yet, things like planning, learning, and building relationships. That's where the magic happens. Now, once you're on top of your own priorities, you can start interacting with people in a much more powerful way. And that brings us to habit 4. Think win-win. This isn't just a technique, it's a complete shift in your mindset. It's about seeing life not as a competition, but as a place for cooperation. The core idea is simple. For me to win, you don't have to lose. There's enough success to go around. And here is a classic example of what not to do. There's this story about a company president who wanted his team to cooperate more. Great idea, right? So he offers this amazing reward, a trip to Bermuda. The only problem? Only one person could win it. His good intentions were completely sunk because he created a win-lose system. Instead of working together, everybody was now fighting each other for the prize, making the original problem 10 times worse. That story sets us up perfectly for our next section. This is where we get into the real secrets of effective communication and collaboration. How do we actually work together in a way that creates something amazing? Habit 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Okay, imagine this. You go to an eye doctor because your vision is blurry.
Before he even looks at your eyes, he takes off his own glasses, hands them to you, and says, "Here, try these. They've worked perfectly for me for years." You think he was out of his mind, right? Of course. You can't prescribe a solution before you diagnose the problem. And yet, we do this constantly in our conversations. We jump to give advice before we even really listen.
And just think about how we communicate. The actual words we use, that's only about 10% of the message we're sending. The rest, it's all in our tone of voice and our body language. This is exactly why true understanding means you have to listen with your eyes and your heart, not just with your ears. It's the only way to really diagnose before you prescribe. So, when you take that deep, genuine understanding from Habit 5 and you combine it with the win-win philosophy from Habit 4, you unlock something incredible. You unlock Habit 6, synergize. This is where the real magic happens. It's when 1 + 1 = 3, or 10, or 100. It's the creative power that lets you achieve things together that would be absolutely impossible on your own. And you can see synergy all around you if you look for it. You see it in nature, right? Birds flying in that V formation can go way, way farther than any single bird could on its own. And in business, you've got the legendary partnership of Steve Jobs, the visionary, and Steve Wozniak, the engineering genius. They were both smart guys on their own, for sure. But together, their synergy created Apple. And that brings us to our final habit, the one that, honestly, makes all the other 6 possible. This is the habit that fuels you and allows you to keep going for the long haul. Habit 7 is sharpen the saw. Covey tells this simple little story about a man who's just sweating, struggling for hours to cut down a tree. His saw is obviously dull. A neighbor comes by and says, "Hey, why don't you take a break and sharpen that saw?" And the man replies, "I can't. I'm too busy cutting." Now, it sounds completely ridiculous, but how often are we that man? Too busy doing to improve our ability to do. Sharpening the saw just means taking care of your single greatest asset, you. And that requires consistent renewal in 4 key dimensions. Your body through exercise and rest. Your mind by reading and always learning. Your heart by investing in your relationships with family and friends. And your spirit through things like meditation or just spending time in nature. This isn't a nice to have, it's an absolute necessity if you want to be effective long term. And that brings us right back to the beginning. From deciding to be proactive and knowing your destination, all the way through to continuous self-renewal. So I'll leave you with this final, challenging thought. Take a serious look at your most important goals in life. Now take an honest look at what you do every day. Do they actually match up? Because the answer to that one question, well, that's the first real step to living a highly effective life.